All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a wonderful day. It was absolutely one for the history books. It was the worst day down for the chips since March 2020, and for NVIDIA, the single day value lost, it was around 590 billion, I think, in one day. That is the most amount of money that has ever been vanquished on any single day move. So it was wild. It had to do with all of that AI stuff that we talked about on last night's watch list, the DeepSeek. I really hope you guys were prepared for it. There's a lot of opinions going around, and I really hope I explained it in both sides to you, but I do have something very simple that I do want to start this video out with, because I see a lot of people fighting and arguing about DeepSeek this and demand and GPU, but I don't think that's why Wall Street and everybody panicked. Like I showed you guys at the beginning of yesterday's video, this DeepSeek news is old. Even if you go to DeepSeek's Twitter from February 2024, they have been posting about all of this stuff. I'm telling you, man, it's absolutely wild, the reaction that we got today. So there's a couple of things about this, but I'm going to just tell you right here, right now, the real reason why I think San Francisco and Wall Street are panicking over this development is simply user adoption. DeepSeek went to #1 in the iStore. Like I told you guys the other day, Anthropic and any of these other apps, nobody has came close to the user acquisition that ChatGPT had. Remember when you started using it, the real #1 thing that got a lot of people on ChatGPT, I remember being on stream. The video was very cheap at the time, and I remember they're like, oh, ChatGPT, the fastest to 1 million users, then Facebook, Google, and everybody, and before you knew it, that's when the AI race began. So although everyone's arguing back and forth, and there's a lot of good arguments, we're going to even talk about a couple of things, and I think you were prepared from yesterday's video, but when it's all said and done, I just think it became a threat simply because of user adoption. A lot of companies in the tech world, they never made money. They have a lot of debt. They got their stardom because of user acquisition, and now you just got a lot of the world on board on this app overnight, and now you got a lot of worry. So we're going to talk about it. I'm going to explain a little bit more of what happened. I'm even going to go over the after hours. There's a lot of Trump comments both throughout the day and then even after hours. He signed a couple of executive orders. We'll go over that. Then we're going to talk about earnings, and I made a bunch of plays today that we need to cover. So Chad, what I need from you, a thumbs up on the video. Make sure you're subscribed, and if you don't know, we are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open, youtube.com/the stock market. We will see you there in the morning, baby. Run it.
Working to the couch, it's the 2020 election. Live in the hills, but still get a spread. Started with a live, but still reinvest it. Feel how I feel, then you feel like a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but the sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down, hold it.
Right off the bat, like I told you, it was one for the history books. You even at one point last night, the futures were gapped down 5%. I was tweeting about it, man. It was absolutely wild. Again, this did give you a lot of feeling of the August flash crash. And one thing I explained, if you don't remember that August flash crash, it did not last long, and you were hitting new highs before you could say Jerome Powell. And the other example, if you remember what happened with Jackson Hole, we were kind of flying high, and then you sold off for a couple of weeks or even a couple of months there. So there's many ways this could go, but what caused the sell-off today, it was the DeepSeek and this AI concerns and a lot of ideas going around, and really absolutely a lot of fear and a bunch of new ideas that you haven't heard. Like I said, since 2023 and all of this AI stuff, you haven't really had a real threat to this AI narrative, and this was the first thing that got people questioning. Now, it doesn't mean it is the end of that. We're going to talk about it, but the other part of today was the tariff drama, the futures, and before you really started to see more of that fear from NVIDIA and DeepSeek. Remember, you had that little spat with Colombia, the dollar, the Mexican peso, a lot of other things are moving. Even right now after the bell, Trump made comments on chips and putting tariffs. He even said DeepSeek was a good thing and that it had some competition. And he was making these comments saying you got to make your chip plants here if you don't want to get tariffed. He even talked about U.S. steel and steel. And point is, you'll notice the futures, I could actually show you now, it's not like the futures went too crazy. So you can see right now from where we closed, even the futures, but go to the euro, go to the pound. Those guys are getting demolished right now. So the dollar is moving and Trump's comments are moving that. And why do I bring that up? And there was another comment here today too after the bell. Scott Bessent, the treasurer, he said he's down with universal tariffs. That's not good. That might not even be good for TLT. That's why that's all down. But I think you should pay attention to this because you're able to see, hey, if the market's responding to Trump tariffs and policy, what's moving? Dollar, bonds, other currencies, not really the NASDAQ. What do we have yet today? It was all the NASDAQ, NVDA, the chips moving, but the dollar and bonds didn't really react. So hopefully you could use this. Eventually this will fail you, but till that moment, it will be a good thing to watch. So keep your eyes out for that. But like I'm saying, man, we had all of this stuff after the bell, tariffs, chips, Bessent, and you're going to be getting this dynamic moving forward and now juggling whether or not NVIDIA and a lot of AI companies need a revaluation or if this is ultimately going to be really bullish for them. Again, I'm sure you heard both. Now, let me give you the answer that you want because everybody wants to know, is this going to be a black swan? And I was telling you yesterday, maybe it is, maybe it's not. It's clearly an event that has gotten people's attention. I'm glad to have told you guys early, but do I think this is going to be a black swan? No. I think it is a gray swan for now. It could always morph into one, but in a weird way, this wasn't completely unexpected. DeepSeek has been around. They've been posting even on GitHub since February of 24, and this news and even what they were covering, CNBC was covering this 3 weeks ago, and they even said, oh, should we look out? Should we be afraid? So I don't see it as a black swan in that sense because it's not like it was totally unexpected. That's why I was saying in the beginning here, I really think people only reacted because of user adoption. Otherwise, they would have kept ignoring it, and it wouldn't have been a threat. They would have wrote it off and called it a day. I could only imagine what other ideas are out there right now that have kind of been treated the same. So the thing I think is user adoption. I don't think it's a black swan yet. Maybe it could, maybe it couldn't be. But what I was saying is that, is this the bubble popping? I don't think so, but it was definitely a first step. If the bubble did pop, you would look back and be like, yeah, this was that first step. Maybe we'll get a fat bounce from here and then developments a couple months from now. But you would look at this as a pretty odd step. A lot of people are talking the paradigm shifting. No, I don't think that the paradigm has shifted completely. It's not like this is flip the whole narrative on its head, get rid of everything you knew about AI and valuations thus far. It's all over. No, but it was a step in the direction of a new way of thinking of AI and the valuations. And that's why it could either get very violent in both directions, but obviously people are worried because they haven't really been thinking or been worried about this. So the fact of the matter is, DeepSeek did something big in AI, and they did it without the powerful chips. Does this mean it eliminates demand? Does it mean that you don't need them anymore? Not really. I mean, the way you got to look at it is if you were DeepSeek, if they were given the opportunity to get more powerful chips and expand, do you think they would refuse? And the answer is no, because this is, they were limited, and out of scarcity, it kind of created this. So that's where we're at in the situation. Everything I'm saying right now could change. You're going to find out who is right and who is wrong about this stuff. But when it's all said and done, it was clearly an event that got people's attention. And now we're going to have to juggle this, especially at a very odd week, because that leads us to the final key man, earnings. And I think this is kind of all a giant trap. And you have 40% of the S&P 500 reporting this week, Meta, Microsoft, all of these big companies. And the way I'm looking at it, and I'm biased because all I've done after Meta and a couple of good growth names, all I did was buy value. So I'm very biased, but I think at minimum, earnings, good or bad, we are going to get a value rotation. Now, coming into this DeepSeek stuff, the way I'm looking at it, if the earnings are really good and the guidance is good and you hear it enough, remember when people freaked out about ad spend before earnings, Snapchat, Meta, does that sound familiar? And then they all come in, and if they all reassure you and none of the numbers are bad, bro, it's going to be like Men in Black. Look at the pen, boom, you forgot all about it. And that's if earnings are good and the guidance is good and the strong dollar doesn't end up becoming a problem for us. But if the earnings are bad, then that could probably exasperate our situation, and then we start seeing how people react, especially with Powell in the middle of this week. But point is, be cautious. I do think the guidance is going to be the real kicker when it's all said and done. But now as we move forward, get more details on this, Powell, you're going to get a little bit more dollar in politics. Then we get all this earnings. We're going to really find out, is this like a quick blip like we saw in August, or are we about to kind of get a more extended downturn? But like I'm saying here, at minimum, I feel like this could be an opportunity for value to rise up. Go look at the equal weight today. It barely moved. And the other things to come down. We saw this at other times. Remember that Dow rally. So maybe that's what we get if this is all end up being, new info, but not enough to kill us, not enough to change the situation. Otherwise, be on the lookout for both sides of the coin. But that's what we're going to be watching for. And now I think it leads perfectly into the play. So let us get into the play. So right off the bat, I think this will explain some of how I'm thinking about this moment. NVIDIA, I made a couple of plays. We'll go over them. But the strategy that I'm looking for is the barbell. I think further out of the money, calls and puts. That's what I did today. I even got one closer to the money, but the whole idea is take advantage of this move. It was one of the biggest ones you've ever seen. Yeah, it could get really bad or it could have a big bounce. You don't need to know what's going to happen, but if you could get the good price, that's the thing. You don't have to just buy this play right away. I kind of wish I waited a little longer, and that's what led me into other plays, but if you could get the right price on the barbell after this stock has moved this, out the money calls, out the money puts, cheap enough price, all you're really looking for is the death blow or the recovery, and that's a good way to take advantage of $500 billion getting wiped out of the market. So the only thing that's going to kill you on this play, the chop and lack of time. So if you're further out the money, call or put, it ends up doing it, and it does it at the last second, there's no money to be made in that. So really the only way you're going to lose, and if you get more time, you're going to spend more money. That's going to kind of be the dilemma with this. So I said it today when I made the play. I was like, man, the only problem is, yeah, there's a lot riding, and with, again, it's like buying insurance when the house is on fire. Things are going to be a little bit up there. So if the stock barely moves, or even if it does move, depending on what price, far out of the money options, they're going to move very, very odd. So you have to be careful with that. But you'll see what I'm talking about with my play. But that is what I did, and that's what I would be looking for. I mean, you could go confidently in up or down, but I do think the barbell is the move right now. So that is play number one. And then play number two, man, value. I can't say it enough. I have been saying this for a very long time. You ask me about buying for the long term. I don't tell you NVIDIA. I told you there's 100 names down on the S&P, but I really think today was a good example. Our long terms went up. Now, you could call this a flex or not, but I posted every play. And at the end of the day, man, I want you guys to actually see this, because we went up today. You went up about 1.2% on the long term. Because think about what we have been buying, after Meta, after Netflix. That's why I've been telling you, I want a little bit of growth here in this year. Because, again, all we did was stack dividends. Every single one of those names went up today because, and this is why I keep saying, at minimum, I think we just get a value rotation. I don't think this has to be something where, we absolutely die or we get back to bullish mode. But you've seen the Dow do this a couple times, and even in the midst of one of the worst days, the Dow is up. So I just want this to be testament that, bro, there's a lot of opportunity, and when you do plan ahead, I mean, you could take advantage of some of this stuff. So I do think there is going to be short-term plays on this as well, though, and that's what you got to think about. These beaten down quality names that have not really spent that much on AI right now, I think they're really going to have an opportunity. So even some of those old XLVs and other plays came back up. Keep an eye on value, especially if we see after earnings more money coming out of the Mag 7. Again, the humiliation trade, remember, and that's what we saw today. Today wasn't a full sell-off, and that's going to be the risk that you'll have with this play is one day people are really panicked. They're going to sell everything, gold, Bitcoin, value play, Mag 7. But the whole idea, remember, even with AI, people are like, oh, just buy Mag 7. They have the monopoly. Today threatened that. So what did they do? They went back and bought a little bit of value. So it was a very good sign for that rotation today. We'll see where that goes from here, but it's definitely something we've been eyeing, and I would keep your eye out for it, especially if you see more outflows out of the Mag 7. So that is play number two. And then finally, play number 3. This one's kind of a long shot, but AstraZeneca. I saw this news after the hour. It kind of moved. We're speaking value. Even some of these healthcares, but they got a breast cancer drug approval. And any breast cancer drug approval, they usually get a little bit of action in the morning. So we'll see how it plays. If that doesn't happen, like I'm saying, otherwise, the other play I would have put here was DeepSeek PR plays. Kind of like the quantum stuff. I played one today and got smoked. But I thought it was good at the time. But I still think we're going to get a little bit more. But the whole idea is DeepSeek, whether it's good or bad, I'm sure you're going to start hearing about a lot of companies. I mean, it's either going to absolutely get no traction at all, or it'll kind of play like, oh, we partnered with NVDA. Remember those bullshit PRs? Yeah, that's what we're kind of expecting here. So we'll see how that plays out, but those are the main plays. As far as what I did today, I did a lot. So I grabbed NVIDIA in the morning. These are the ones I wish I waited, but there was a lot going on, and it ended up going down. The problem was stock ended up dropping. These options dropped with it. There's way more premium in the morning. So if you could hold off on the FOMO, you will get a better price. And like I've said, you should use my plays to get a better price. If they already run up, that's on you, man. You make them free. I gave you a good pass. You better score it. But literally use these as a play marker, because once I go down on them, you could either get more time, closer to the money, or a way cheaper price, because usually I still kind of like the idea is I'll either run out of time or it works. So we'll find out, but this is why I'm saying these NVIDIA ones, I started with the 55 puts. I grabbed 50 of them. You could have got them at a better price. They did go up 50% at one point, and then it kind of leveled out, and then it's just literally 4 or 5, same price that I got it at all day. And then I grabbed 175 calls, 4 of them at 18 cents. So again, 55 put, 175 call. Stock is trading at 120. Far at the money, far at the money call, far at the money put. Ideally, I would want a little closer, but this is what I mean. I'm really just trying to take advantage of the volatility if we get some sort of either confirmation bounce or death blow, like I said. So those were the first 2 that I played, and then I had meta weeklies and TLTs. I sold 3 out of 5 of the meta weeklies. We played those last week. They went up 80%. We even have a March meta play that's up 100%. So those actually held out. I was calling them out even in the deep red today. The meta earnings plays were green, and that's what I was saying. Be careful, because earnings is still on the market's pricing. Otherwise, those plays should have been red, and they weren't, and then it bounced, and then it started rocketing. But I sold the weeklies. They expire at the end of this week. Got a good gain on that. Then I sold 25 of 50 of the weekly TLTs. They were at 200%. I think even as high as 400% in the morning. These were the plays that we made after Donald Trump said he's going to demand lower rates, so ended up benefiting off the fear. Made those free. Then I grabbed an NVIDIA close to the money. It was a good bottom tick. I thought I got filled a little higher, but it was 223. I grabbed a 135 call. This was a call closer to the money. That was after the puts like barely went up, and then it was literally the low of the day on NVIDIA. We picked it up. It went as high as like 30% and then chilled out. So got a decent amount of calls, but it's about like what? 260, almost 300 on calls, and then about 250 on puts. So dollar amount is about the same, but positioning and closer and further from the money, that's what's a little different there. So we'll see how those play out. But like I've said, I'm not really as confident in these. I just think it was a big day, and there's going to be a lot of drama. So ideally, make these free and move. But I do like the other ideas with value and all of that. So we'll see. But there was that play. Then RTX, February 7th. We got early word, and he said he's going to sign a bill after hours, but we got early word on Trump saying he wants an Iron Dome in the United States. I grabbed February 07, 138 calls, 2 of them at 24. I didn't like this as much. They have earnings tomorrow. Stock's up a lot, but I figured there would be a Trump pump, and then he did have that executive order after hours, so we'll see. Hopefully we can make those free. And then Holo, I got burned on this one. I grabbed 1,000 shares at 243, or no, it was like 236 or 234. I mixed those numbers around, but the thing about this is that it had the PR. It shot up in the morning. There was a couple of these names. They're like DeepSeek integration. I knew it was BS. I just figured there would kind of be hype on it. It ran up for a little bit. I thought I was catching the dip there. Ended up being the fallen knife. So still holding those. I think I lost like $600 because I went 1,000 shares. It dropped like 60 cents or something. But like I'm saying, I think there's going to be a little bit more juice. Otherwise, maybe this will be a bag hold. I don't want it to be. I hope not. Let's see. But other than that, I made a lot of action. Again, we got to calm down a little bit, but we have waited for a while, so we'll see where it all takes us. But Chad, I'll see you there tomorrow morning. I hope you're ready to go and in the game, but that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure hydrate healthy, ready to go. Make sure post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shining. And my brother, I don't care what you believe. You were not created to give up. Every day, the best version of yourself, in or out, egg or fly, my brother. You got to make a choice, but it's in you every day, no matter what. So I hope they feel me, baby. Get a good night rest. Drink that water. Stay hydrated, healthy, all that good stuff. I'll see you in the morning. And Horna.